Discover the incredible, life-changing journey of New Holland. 10 amazing transformations exposed. In the small town of New Holland, the sun struggled to shine through the thick fog of economic despair. But amidst the murk, Tim, a hard-working mechanic, opened the creaky doors of his shop every day, determined to tackle life head-on. With the scent of motor oil filling the air and the sounds of clanging tools harmonizing like a morning symphony, he was met with the laughter of his beloved daughter, Ella. Her beaming smile could melt the sternest criticism from the wealthier neighbors perched on their high horses. Their judgment felt sharp, a constant reminder of Tim's modest existence. Yet Ella's hopeful spirit was like a beacon, guiding him through the storm. When the announcement of a STEM competition offering a scholarship fluttered into their lives, a spark ignited in Tim's heart. This could be their ticket to a brighter future, a chance to escape the clutches of a struggling life. Together, father and daughter brainstormed ideas late into the night, their imaginations running wild. They could create something beautiful, a wind turbine that embodied the very essence of New Holland. As they crafted their project, the growth of their humble creation reflected the community around them, the brave war veteran, the gentle elderly widow, and the young couple striving against the odds to keep their farm afloat. But as they reached out to their neighbors, the weight of prejudice threatened to engulf them. Would the community rally together, or would walls of misunderstanding keep them apart? Just as they began to stitch together the fabric of collaboration, a violent storm swept in, tearing apart their plans and threatening to unravel the fledgling bonds they had just formed. Tim watched helplessly as nature's fury unleashed chaos in the streets, revealing the deep scars of disappointment and unfulfilled dreams that lay hidden beneath their everyday lives. As the ferocity of the storm subsided, Tim stood amidst the wreckage, his heart heavy with doubt. Would they rise again, or was this the final chapter for a community that had struggled for far too long? The answers seemed lost in the debris, the once clear paths now obscured by fresh fears and unspoken resentments. Yet, Ella's face sparkled with determination, igniting a sense of hope he didn't know he had left. Her spirit could not be dimmed by judgment or circumstance. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the day of the STEM competition steadily approaching, the air buzzed with anxiety and anticipation. Would the storm's aftermath bring them closer together or fracture them beyond repair? Tim wondered if his love for Ella and the bonds they had forged with their neighbors could prove to be a force strong enough to counteract the bitterness of judgment from the outside world. As he locked eyes with Ella, her spirit radiating like the sun emerging through the clouds, he felt the weight of their future resting on the fragile threads of their shared dreams. Could they redefine what success truly meant in the broken heart of New Holland? The question lingered, captivating them all, leaving the community standing at a precipice of possibility, with the echoes of hope whispering in the winds of change. The day of the STEM competition dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the tempest that had just howled through New Holland. Tim awoke early, the thrill of anticipation buzzing in his chest. He could hear Ella's soft footsteps padding through the house as she prepared for what he hoped would be their defining moment. The scent of coffee mingled with the sweet aroma of pancakes filled the air, and for a moment, everything felt normal, vibrant, a reminder of hope and unity wrapped in family love. As they shared breakfast, Ella's enthusiasm was contagious. "Dad, just think, today is our day." Her eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and determination. Tim smiled back, trying to match her energy, though doubt still lurked in the corners of his mind. They had worked tirelessly on the wind turbine, pouring not just their time but also their hearts into it. But would it be enough to silence the whispers from those who doubted them? With the clock ticking, they loaded their creation into the old pickup truck. Tim secured the turbine tightly, glancing down at Ella, who clutched her notebook filled with sketches and ideas. "Remember, it's not just the wind turbine. It's about bringing everyone together, he said, trying to infuse the moment with more than just competition. They were redefining their community. As they arrived at the local high school gym, a buzz of activity surrounded them. Students adjusted their projects, teachers offered last-minute advice, and parents mingled, some glancing sideways at Tim and Ella, their expressions uncertain. Tim felt the weight of expectation settle on his shoulders as they stepped into the gym. Would his daughter's hope-filled approach be enough to turn skepticism into support? They found their display area, a little nook that felt swallowed among larger projects brimming with technology and glitzy displays. But Tim took a deep breath and reminded himself that the heart of their creation wasn't flashy, it was real. As they set up, Ella began explaining their turbine to anyone who paused to listen. Her passion lit up the room, with phrases that echoed community pride and resilience. Yet, amidst the budding interest, Tim caught sight of familiar faces from their neighborhood, the wealthy couple who often sneered during their market visits, the town council member whose grimaces had become a permanent part of their interactions. Their presence sent a jolt of anxiety through him. What would they say? Just then, a commotion erupted as the judges began to roam the gym, taking notes and asking questions. Ella's voice rang out as she detailed how their design contributed to sustainable energy, her words weaving in stories of neighbors who found joy in banding together. Tim felt something shift within him. It was more than just presenting a project. It was about inviting everyone to believe in change, in possibility. After what felt like an eternity, the judges approached their station. Tim's heart raced as he felt the weight of their scrutiny. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, Ella jumped in, her face alight with optimism. She shared their dream transforming New Holland not just through science, but through togetherness. But as they neared the end of their presentation, the wealthy couple stepped forward, eyebrows raised in skepticism. "This is all very sweet," one of them said with a mocking smile. "But is this really enough? Can it truly change anything?" Tim's stomach dropped. Would this be the moment of defeat? Or could they transform judgment into understanding? Ella held her ground, unwavering. "It's a start, and starts are important. It's what happens after that counts." As the crowd murmured, with some nodding in agreement, an unexpected name slipped from the crowd midst a name heavy with memories. Someone who could tip the balance between scorn and support. "Tim, is that you?" Tim turned, his breath hitching, facing the last person he expected to see. How would this encounter shift the course of their day? The path forward shimmered with uncertainty, and in that moment, everything hung in the balance. Tim felt his heart race as he turned to face the approaching figure. It was Sarah, his high school science teacher, the one who had ignited a spark in him so many years ago. Her face, once familiar and comforting, now held a mix of surprise and interest. The years had changed her, she looked older, but her eyes still radiated the same curiosity and warmth that had made learning feel like an adventure. Sarah, his voice was barely a whisper, caught between nostalgia and the weight of the moment. Memories flooded back. Late nights spent poring over science projects and the day he had presented his own invention, an experiment that had once felt dreamlike. "Oh my goodness, Tim, I can't believe it's you. And is this your daughter?" she exclaimed, crouching down to meet Ella's gaze. The genuine affection in her voice put a little ease into Tim's anxiety. "Yes, I'm Ella," she said, almost bouncing on her feet. "We built a wind turbine together." "What a fantastic project." Sarah beamed, scrutinizing the turbine with genuine interest. "I've seen a lot of projects today, but yours stands out. You're doing this for the community, right?" Tim felt a swell of hope. Here was a voice from his past, someone who believed in innovation and community, and she had just validated Ella and him in a way that stirred the crowd around them. "Yeah, we wanted to show everyone that even small steps can make a difference," Ella said, her innocent confidence shining through. Sarah nodded approvingly, leaning in closer to inspect the turbine. "You know, many think innovation only comes from big ideas, but you're showing that grassroots efforts can inspire real change. Don't let anyone make you feel less than what you are, a strong team making a difference." The echo of her words tugged at Tim's heart. He looked around, noticing more curious faces. It seemed Sarah's authenticity had a ripple effect. The wealthy couple exchanged glances, their smirks faltering as intrigue replaced skepticism on their faces. As the judges took notes, Tim felt the energy in the air shift. This was a moment of possibility, not only for the competition, but perhaps for New Holland itself. Could their community genuinely rally together behind something so simple yet profoundly impactful? "Thank you, Sarah," he managed to say through a tight throat. "It means a lot, especially today. Just keep pushing forward," she encouraged, her gaze shifting between father and daughter. "Don't let fear hold you back. Every change begins with brave souls like you two." Tim shared a glance with Ella, seeing reflected in her eyes the same passion that inspired him years ago. The doubts that clouded his mind began to lift, replaced by a quiet confidence. As the judges wrapped up, Tim felt a surge of excitement. Perhaps they weren't just competing. They were part of a larger story, one that could unite their community. The murmurs around them grew louder, a blend of admiration and newfound curiosity. But just as the judges moved on, another figure emerged from the crowd. This time someone Tim had hoped to never see again. The town council member, infamous for his unyielding criticism, approached with an expression that was unreadable. His presence cast a shadow that felt could darken the progress that had begun. "Tim," he said, his voice cutting through the buzz, "we need to talk." The crowd quieted, the tension thick in the air. What confrontation awaited? Would this be a moment of reckoning or disillusionment? Tim's heart raced as he looked at Ella. Would their hard work endure? Or was this clash about to change everything? Tim stood firm, his body tense as the council member stepped closer. The buzz of the crowd faded into a suffocating silence, making the moment feel unbearably heavy. Tim's heart pounded in his chest, a drum echoing his fears. Hey, Tim stammered, searching for the right words. The last thing he wanted was a confrontation, especially not after the uplifting moment with Sarah. "What do you need to talk about?" The man shifted his weight, his gaze sharpening. "I've been keeping an eye on your little project, Tim. You think making a wind turbine is going to solve all the town's problems? You're out of your depth." His voice dripped with condescension, each syllable a dagger. Tim felt the heat rise to his cheeks. He opened his mouth, a retort on the tip of his tongue, but looked down at Ella instead. Her small face radiated confusion, the sparkle of excitement dimmed by the council member's words. He swallowed his anger, feeling the need to protect her innocence. "We're just trying to make a difference," Tim replied, keeping his voice steady. "Every little bit counts, doesn't it?" The man rolled his eyes, shaking his head dismissively. "You think your community will rally behind this? People want grand gestures, Tim. They want flashy displays, not your backyard science project." Anger boiled beneath Tim's calm exterior. He opened his mouth to defend them, but before he could, Sarah stepped in. "Excuse me," she said, her tone firm. "What Tim and Ella are doing is remarkable. It may seem small to you, but the impact of grassroots efforts can be profound. You've forgotten that progress often starts with humble beginnings." The council member sneered. "You're backing a lost cause, Sarah. Mark my words, it won't change a thing." Tim watched the two exchange words, and the murmurs in the crowd grew. People were watching, listening, and judging. The energy was electric, filled with a mix of hope and skepticism. "Why don't you let the rest of us decide how we feel about it?" Sarah said, her voice unwavering. "Sometimes, it's the quiet voices that lead us to the greatest changes." Ella's eyes widened at Sarah's words, and a glimmer of hope kindled in Tim's heart. Maybe they weren't alone in this. Maybe others would see the potential, too. The council member hesitated, glancing at the growing crowd. Tim sensed a shift, a crack in the council member's facade. With a huff, he turned away, muttering something about wasting time. As he walked off, the tension slowly released, and whispers of support began to ripple through the crowd. Sarah smiled warmly at Tim and Ella, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. "See? You're making waves," she said, nudging Ella gently. "Don't ever forget, people rally around those who dare to dream big, even if their dreams start small." Tim felt the truth of her words reach deep within him. For the first time in a while, he felt a sense of belonging and purpose. The whispers from the crowd grew louder, full of admiration and excitement. "Let us keep showing them what we can do together," he said, taking Ella's hand. As they turned back to the display, Tim's mind raced with new possibilities. What if they could create more projects? What if they could inspire others, not just in New Holland but beyond? But before he could delve deeper into his thoughts, he spotted the same wealthy couple from earlier, their faces now twisted into a frown. The woman leaned in, whispering something to her partner while casting wary glances at the wind turbine. "What's that about?" Ella wondered aloud, the curiosity flickering in her eyes. Just then, the woman stepped forward. "Tim," she said, her voice dripping with skepticism. "This isn't just about you and your daughter. You're entering dangerous territory." Tim felt his stomach drop. What challenges now loomed on the horizon? What would it take to turn his dream into reality? The air crackled with anticipation, and as the crowd seemed to close in around them, he braced himself for whatever was about to unfold. Would their dream weather this new storm? Or was it all hanging by a fragile thread? Tim's stomach twisted in knots at the wealthy woman's words. The crowd shifted, uneasy whispers buzzing like angry bees. He spotted Sarah, who wore a frown of concern, and Ella, clutching his hand tightly, her curious eyes wide with uncertainty. "Dangerous territory?" he repeated, trying to maintain his composure. "You make it sound like I'm planning something reckless." The woman stepped closer, her unease palpable. "You're not just playing with a machine, Tim. If this turbine doesn't work, or worse, if it leads to setbacks, you'll lose support. People can turn quickly when they feel threatened, and they'll blame you and your daughter." Tim felt anger chasing fear down a dark alley. How could she dismiss their dream so easily? "With all due respect, we're trying to make a positive change." "Positive?" she scoffed, glancing at the wind turbine with disdain. "Watch your back. This town isn't what it seems. It has a history." Ella's grip on his hand tightened, and Tim knelt to her level. "Hey, remember what Sarah said? We're not alone. There are people who believe in us." The wealthy couple exchanged glances, skepticism etched on their faces. But the nearby crowd seemed to unite, drawn in by the fire of Tim's words. A few nods here and there, a murmur of agreement. "Your efforts may be sincere," the woman said more softly, "but not everyone is thrilled about outsiders meddling in their affairs." Tim straightened, drawing strength from the support assembling around him. "If we're going to make a difference, we have to take risks. Change isn't built on comfort." Before the woman could respond, Sarah jumped in. "That's right. Movement starts with risks. It's the moments when the ground shifts beneath us that we truly grow. And look at this crowd. They're here because they believe in this vision." Her voice rang out, steady and powerful. The tide of support swelled as people stepped closer, nodding with determination. Tim felt their energy wash over him, lifting his worries like a rising tide. Ella's eyes sparkled. "We can show them what's possible," she shouted, her voice loud and clear. A cheer erupted from the gathering, filling the space with hope. The wealthy couple looked even more taken aback, and Tim caught a glimpse of doubt in their eyes. There was a crack in their armor, something that hinted they weren't entirely immune to the electricity of the moment. Tim took a deep breath, fueled by the growing connection with his community. "We may be starting small, but we're not backing down. Our dream can inspire something bigger." As he spoke, he scanned the crowd, his heart racing. Each face reflected a desire for change, shared aspirations hanging thick in the air. Maybe this was about more than just a wind turbine. Maybe it was about belief, about a relentless spirit that said they could overcome anything the world threw at them. Just then, a distant rumble punctuated the moment. A storm cloud hovered on the horizon, darkening the once vibrant sky. The crowd shifted again, a wave of uncertainty washing over them. "Looks like trouble is brewing," Sarah said, glancing up. "But we can't let that stop us." Tim sensed the tension creep back in. Could they really withstand whatever storm was coming, both literally and figuratively? Ella tugged at his sleeve, her voice a soft whisper. What if it really does get dangerous, Daddy? He knelt beside her, heart aching at her worry. Then we'll face it together. It's our dream and we won't lose sight of it. As the first droplets of rain began to fall, a shadow loomed over the gathering. A figure approached through the haze, someone unfamiliar carrying a folder of documents. Tim, a gravelly voice called, sending chills down his spine. I think we need to talk about your wind turbine plans right now. What new obstacles would this stranger bring with them? Tim braced himself, fear clashing with hope as he stood before the crowd, ready to fight for everything they had worked for. Would their journey lead to a breakthrough or a breakdown? Tim's heart raced as the figure drew closer, each step feeling weighty like thunder rumbling in the distance. He could see now a man with a rugged face, tired eyes, and a tight grip on a folder that seemed to carry the weight of the town's secrets. Tim took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage. What do you want? Tim asked, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. The rain began to fall more heavily now, droplets mingling with the sweat on his brow. The crowd, once vibrant and alive with hope, simmered into an anxious silence. The man flicked through the documents, seemingly unfazed by the tension crackling in the air. I'm here about the turbine, he said, his tone matter-of-fact. The town council wants to discuss your proposal and its potential impact. Tim exchanged nervous glances with Sarah and Ella, who now stood close by, their expressions both worried and resolute. Impact? Tim echoed, the fire of determination sparking within him. We're trying to do something good. This isn't just a proposal. It's a lifeline for our community. Don't you see that? I see a lot of money at stake, the man replied, not mincing words. People in this town have been burned by projects that promised change but delivered chaos. Trust is low, and you need to prove you're not just another outsider with an ideal. Ella pulled at Tim's sleeve again, her voice shaky. Are they gonna stop us, Daddy? No, he whispered, determination building alongside the storm brewing above them. He turned back to the man, his voice steady now. We're not backing down. We'll show them the benefits of what we're doing. The only chaos here is fear, the kind that keeps people from believing they can change their future. The man raised an eyebrow, noting the fire in Tim's eyes, the same fire flickering in the crowd back behind him. Yet, skepticism still shadowed his face. Talk is cheap. Documents, plans, all sorts of things can be promised. But when the time comes to deliver, he trailed off, as if the weight of past failures haunted him. Tim stepped closer, his heart pounding fiercely. Then let us show you. Let our hard work speak for itself. We can't change hearts when we're drowned by doubt. You're here now, let us have a real conversation, not just a bureaucratic one where people hide behind paperwork. As the words left his mouth, he felt an unexpected, deep sense of resolve wash over him. The crowd began to shift, some nodding, as if agreeing with his passion. Even the rain seemed to recede for a moment, creating just enough space for hope to seep back into the air. The man's expression softened, albeit just a little. Maybe, let us take this discussion to the community board. They want to hear from you. You need to prepare for tough questions. There's a lot riding on this. Tim nodded, the lump in his throat easing slightly. Thank you. That's all we ask, an opportunity. The man turned to leave, glancing back once more. Just remember, Tim, many have tried and many have failed. Keep your daughter close and tread carefully. This storm might not just be above us. After he walked away, Tim faced the crowd, raindrops starting to slick their faces. We have a chance. Let us get ready to share our vision. Together, we can face whatever comes. As cheers erupted again, the storm at the horizon grew darker, but something within Tim felt lighter. They were not just standing against the wind. They were learning how to dance with it. But that voice, the man's warning, lingered unsettlingly in his mind. What kind of storm awaited them, both in the clouds above and in the hearts of the townsfolk? With Ella at his side, his resolve would be tested anew. It wasn't just a dream they were fighting for anymore. It was a fight for understanding, for trust. Just how far would he be willing to go when the storm broke? The air was thick with anticipation. Tim stood before the crowd, rain pelting down on him like a drum roll, each drop a reminder of the challenge ahead. His heart felt like it was thundering in sync with the storm, but he forced a smile. "We can do this together," he shouted, trying to pull their spirits up from the damp earth. Ella squeezed his hand tight, her small fingers searching for reassurance. "Daddy, what if they don't believe us?" she whispered, worry carving lines in her face. He knelt beside her, searching her little eyes. "They will, honey. They just need to see how much this matters to us." He glanced around at the faces staring back, familiar and friendly, yet edged with doubt. "We'll share our plan. We'll show them it's more than a dream. It's a way forward." As the crowd began to form tighter around him, Tim felt something shift in the atmosphere. A few familiar faces moved closer, curiosity overcoming their apprehension. Sarah, his loyal ally, stepped beside him with her gaze burning with passion. "Let us lay it all out, the benefits, the timelines, the hope we're bringing back." A ripple of agreement spread through the crowd, and suddenly, Tim felt emboldened. "Yes, if we can show them how this turbine isn't just noise, it's a source of energy, jobs, a future for our kids. We can't let fear keep us shackled. Why should we trust you?" A voice rang out from the back, a familiar tone, the skeptical farmer, Old Man Caldwell. "Your talk sounds sweet, but I've heard it all before." Tim sucked in a breath, facing him. "I understand your fear. Trust has been broken before. But let us look at the facts. Let us look at what we can achieve. This isn't just my plan. It's our plan. Together." The crowd murmured, weighing his words. Ella beamed at her father, sensing the shift. "Let us gather at the community center tomorrow night. Bring your questions," Tim continued, finding strength in the faces around him. "Let us have an open dialogue. If I can't answer, then I'll step back. But if we work together, we can create something beautiful." A flicker of hope ignited among them, some nodding while others exchanged glances brimming with consideration. Then, as if on cue, the rain began to lessen. The tension softened, lines on foreheads smoothing out as they felt the potential of unity. But that man's warning never left Tim's mind. Doubt loomed not just over their project but within him too. What if the town couldn't shake its past? What if disappointment was too deep-rooted? The sun broke free from behind the clouds, casting a muted golden glow over the gathering. "Tonight might feel like starting a new chapter," Tim said, the warmth spreading through him. "But we must tread forward carefully and be ready for the storms ahead." As cheers erupted once more, the weight of the moment hit him. With Ella by his side, he realized this wasn't merely about turbines. It was about hope, community, and battling inner fears. A gust of wind swept past, rustling leaves and carrying whispers of the journey ahead. Just then, Tim caught a glimpse of the man again, standing at a distance, watching them with an inscrutable expression. Would he be the ally they needed? Or would he remain a shadow of doubt, lurking in the background? Tomorrow would tell, as the community prepared to step into a meeting that held the potential to change everything or unravel what they had just begun to build. But as the crowd dispersed, Tim's heart hammered with a new worry. What if their voices weren't loud enough to drown out the storm brewing within each of them? Tim paced around the living room, glancing at the clock, each tick amplifying the anxiety rolling in his stomach. Ella was coloring at the table, lost in her world of crayons and paper, blissfully unaware of the weight pressing on her father. Honestly, how could she know? He wished he could share her innocent hope. "Daddy, can I use the sparkly blue?" she asked, holding up the crayon with sparkling flecks. It was one of her favorites. "Of course, sweetheart," he replied, trying to muster enthusiasm. The little things, like her choosing colors, offered him a momentary escape from the uncertainty clouding his mind. His phone buzzed with messages from friends rallying for tonight's meeting and others seeking reassurances about what was to come. He took a deep breath, mentally preparing to face the town. They had a chance, a flicker of hope that could ignite change. But what if they didn't show up? What if the past kept them shackled? "Do you think everyone will come?" Ella's soft voice broke through his thoughts. "I think they will. They care, Tim said, though he wasn't entirely convinced. We just need to show them how much this means to us. More than ever, he wanted to protect her from disappointment. If doubts snuck back into the minds of the community, there could be a backlash, a retreat into the shadows, leaving them with nothing. A sigh escaped him as he watched his daughter meticulously color within the lines. She was, after all, what this was for. When the doorbell rang, Ella's face lit up, and she jumped from her chair. "I'll get it, Daddy." Tim followed, half excited and half nervous, and opened the door to Sarah's warm smile. "We're ready for tonight. I brought muffins." "Thanks. That's perfect." As they set up in the community center, Tim felt the weight settle once again. Slowly but surely, people filtered in, many wearing expressions blending hope and uncertainty. The murmur of voices filled the room until it felt alive, bustling with potential. "Evening, Tim." Caldwell's gravelly voice broke the buzz as he approached with an air of hesitance, yet timbering courage. "Got a minute?" "Always," Tim replied, forcing confidence into his voice. "Look, I ain't one to jump on every idea without some careful thought," Caldwell began. "But I've seen you trying hard. Maybe it's worth hearing your plan." Tim felt a flicker of warmth at this unexpected openness. "I appreciate that. Tonight's about listening, too. I want to hear everyone's thoughts." As the meeting commenced, faces softened, and questions started to arise. The mood shifted from skepticism to curiosity, and Tim could feel the energy change. The stories of doubt and hope traveled the room. Then, Tim noticed Ella's eyes sparkling as she stared at the adults, her little hand raised. "Can I say something?" she asked, innocence dripping from her voice. The room fell silent, heads turning towards her. "Sometimes we have to believe in things we can't see. Like the wind. It makes the turbines spin," she said, her eyes wide with certainty. "If we all believe together, I think we can really do it." A wave of laughter mixed with a flood of sentiment washed over the room. Ella's words, simple yet profound, peeled back the heavy layers of doubt. They served as a reminder of the strength of community and childlike faith. But just as the atmosphere brightened, Tim caught Caldwell's gaze, and for a fleeting moment, a shadow crossed the old man's face. Was it disbelief or concern? Tim's heart raced again. Would they take the spark and run with it, or would the weight of the past drag them back? As he looked around at the now excited faces, he knew they had already come too far to turn back. But what surprises lay ahead? Could they truly transform fear into faith and inertia into action? Tonight was just the beginning, but what came next could shatter the fragile hope or forge it into something unbreakable. The room buzzed with energy, the air crackling with anticipation. Tim felt the heartbeat of the crowd echoing in his own chest, a synchrony that brought a sliver of comfort. He looked around, absorbing the faces of familiar neighbor Sandra, who always baked the best pies, Reese, whose laugh was contagious, and Caldwell, still lingering with a mix of hope and doubt. Each one was a piece of the puzzle, vital and irreplaceable. "Ella, go ahead and join Sarah for a minute, okay?" he said softly, hoping to keep her childlike enthusiasm intact while he steered the meeting forward. "Okay, Daddy," she chirped, dashing off to her new friend, crayons still clutched tightly in her tiny hands. Tim turned to face the room. "I want to thank you all for coming tonight. We've all seen the struggles our town has been through. We've felt the despair. But tonight is about more than just talking." He paused, searching their faces for understanding. "Tonight, we are here to ignite a change. Together." A low murmur broke out among the group. Were they ready to listen? Tim took a deep breath, wrestling with the anxiety in his chest. "Let us talk about the plan. We've discussed the gardens, the community center renovations, and supporting local businesses, things that matter to all of us. But I want to hear your ideas too. What if we start a weekly market?" Someone in the back shouted. "We could sell our homemade goods and crafts." Nods of agreement rippled through the crowd. The encouragement fed Tim's resolve. "That's a fantastic idea. We can revive our local spirit right in our own lives." "Or a community mural," Sarah chimed in, clasping Ella's hand as she returned. Something that reflects who we are together. More voices joined in, suggestions bubbling to the surface like well-shaken soda. Plans took shape, expanding, morphing into a vision that suspended them all in a collective dream. It was intoxicating, the energy shifting from cautious to enthusiastic. Yet, as the discussions rolled on, Tim caught Caldwell's gaze again. This time, he couldn't shake the feeling of unease swirling in the older man's wrinkled expression. As the conversation flourished around them, Caldwell crossed his arms tightly, his brow furrowed. "Tim," he finally said, his voice low and gravelly, "what if we fail? What if it doesn't create the change we hope for?" The room stilled, the laughter faded, and a weight settled among them again. Tim clenched his fists, heart racing. Failure. The word hung heavy in the air, threatening to extinguish the flicker of hope they had just ignited. "But what if we don't try?" Tim shot back, a fire igniting in him he didn't expect. "What if we sit back and let the fear, the doubts, and the past win? We owe it to ourselves, our community, to at least give this a chance." Caldwell's eyes sparkled with something determination, or was it lingering doubt? Tim felt his resolve wavering for just a second but shook it off. He turned to look at the faces surrounding him again. They were watching, waiting, ready for someone to lead them, even him, a father trying to shield his daughter from disappointment. "Are we here to let fear dictate our future?" he pressed. "Or are we ready to write a new story together?" A soft murmur began to rise, igniting the room once more. Ella's eyes sparkled with a mixture of awe and anticipation. In that moment of electric uncertainty, Tim felt a surge of courage. The hesitant flickering was transforming. He could sense that something powerful was breaking free. But then, a loud crash startled everyone. A commotion erupted at the back of the room, eyes shifting towards the noise. What now? Tim's heart sank. This chaos felt like a storm arriving just when they were finally gaining ground. What would happen this time? Would the fragile hope they had built in mere moments be swept away like so many fallen leaves in autumn winds? The unexpected had arrived, and Tim felt the weight of uncertainty wrap around him once again. What lay ahead would determine everything. The ruckus at the back of the room drew all eyes as Tim's heart raced. Suddenly, a table toppled, sending a cascade of papers flying through the air like confetti turned to chaos. The startled audience gasped, and he felt the weight of fear slipping back in. What now? A figure stood amidst the mess. Hank, the council member known for his resistance to change. He looked furious, face flushed, as he picked up a few scattered documents. "You think this is just a game?" he shouted, his voice echoing off the walls. "You think a wind turbine or a market will fix problems that run deep?" Tim's stomach churned. This was the storm they feared, not the weather outside, but the tempest brewing within their hearts. A murmur of concern rippled through the crowd, forming a wall of tension. "Enough!" Tim yelled, feeling that familiar fire ignite within him once again. "No one is pretending this is a cure-all, but we can't let negativity snuff out our hopes. Look around you, this community has already started to rise. We are beginning to connect." Hank scoffed, crossing his arms with an incredulous look. "Connect? With what? A fantasy that vanishes as quickly as it appears? That's not fair." Ella piped up, her voice ringing out, vulnerable yet firm, like the sound of a strong breeze pushing through the leaves. "My dad and I are trying to help everyone, and if you can't see that, then maybe you need to change your way of thinking." A wave of laughter erupted. Tim caught a glimpse of hesitance in Hank's piercing eyes, doubt threatening to crack his indignant facade. The laughter gave birth to momentum. Heads nodded, hands clapped. "Ella's right. We need this vision," came a voice from the side. Then another chimed in, buoyed by her courage. "You can't rain on our parade. We're tired of being stagnant." Seeing the crack in the council member's armor deepen, Tim felt renewed determination flood through him. "All we're asking for is a chance to build something that matters. Every journey begins with a single step, and we need to take that leap together." The crowd erupted in nods and cheers, stirring up energy that reached high, like the wind itself lifting their collective voice. Ella beamed at her father. The two of them united in hope. Hank remained standing, wrestling with the rising tide of voices that pushed back against his skepticism. All I'm saying is be ready for backlash. This town doesn't trust easily. Yet, the community didn't waver. Their resolve acted like a shield, deflecting Hank's pessimism. Change is hard, someone shouted. But we need change to overcome our struggles. Tim stepped forward, eyes never leaving Hank. Every town has its challenges. Ours have been steep, but when we take risks together, we forge understanding. You need to decide, are you going to stand against us or stand beside us? The crowd took a collective breath, and in that silence, a glimmer of something significant sparked, like the first rays of sunlight piercing the dark storm clouds that had hung for far too long. Finally, a flicker of realization washed across Hank's face. You really believe this can work? Yes, cried Ella, her excitement spreading through the room like wildfire. We believe in each other. Hank, Tim added softly, fully aware of the stakes. We'd love to have you join us, if you're willing. This isn't just about one project. It's about all of us, shaping our future together. There was a pause. The tension hung like a thick curtain, but then the flicker morphed into a steady flame. Fine, Hank relented, his voice steadying a bit. But you'd better have a strong plan ready. I hope you can deliver. A cheer erupted. True support surged back to life, transforming uncertainty into collective determination. They were going to rise, to face whatever storms came their way. Together in that moment. The rain outside softened into a gentle patter, each drop now a hopeful melody. The clouds above began to part, revealing clear skies. Tim glanced over at Ella, who was now clapping and laughing with the crowd, her brave words igniting inspiration in everyone around them. Parents, friends, and neighbors united as one. We've come too far to stop now, Tim declared, gaze sweeping over the crowd, filled with familiar faces now aflame with possibility. The energy in the room shifted beautifully, intertwining dreams big and small, resilient against the depths of doubt. This was just the beginning. As the night unfolded, plans formed, ideas were shared, and hands were raised, ready to dive into this new journey together. They discovered that their hope was stronger than clouds of fear. As they left the community center, Tim felt renewed. They were just getting started with Ella at his side. He glanced back one last time, a smile breaking through the remnants of worry. New Holland would soar, united by a vision that spoke loudly to the resonance of family and community. And now, standing proudly in hope, Tim knew they could weather any storm. Every one of them would be a part of the change, an indelible mark on their town's heart. This time they would stand together, ready to transform their dreams into reality. As the cool breeze wrapped around them, Tim felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. Let us keep moving forward. Together, he encouraged, his voice a gentle crescendo filled with warmth and certainty. It was time for New Holland to thrive again. In these moments, together, they could create something extraordinary, something beautiful. And now, the exhilarating journey awaited them all. You need to subscribe now if you want to see every step of this incredible transformation unfold. Leave a like right now to show your support and keep our dreams alive. Comment below with your thoughts and reactions to this uplifting ending. And for the love of connection, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness the power of hope and community. Don't wait not even one more second to spread this positivity.